Algebra Word Problems number 37A. Write, solve equations for mixtures, 3 variables. Now we're going to solve for x, y, and for z. So making a table is the easiest way to solve mixture problems. So we've learned how to solve for x and how to solve for x and y. Now let's learn how to solve for x, y, and z. Solving for 3 variables is similar to solving for 2 variables. Once we know one of them, we plug that variable into the equations to solve for the second variable. Once we know the second variable, we plug it into the equations to solve for the third and final variable. And we use a system of equations to solve for the unknown variables. All right, we're going to be selling some tea here. So let's see what we've got. A tea shop wants to mix 3 types of tea to get 100 ounces that will sell for 83 cents per ounce. Orange Pekoe sells for 80 cents per ounce, Irish tea sells for 85 cents per ounce, and Earl Grey sells for 95 cents per ounce. Now the owner wants to use twice as much Orange Pekoe as Irish. So how much of each kind should he use? All right, so here's what's going to happen. We're going to let x equal the Orange Pekoe, y equal the Irish, and z equal the Earl Grey. Now, did you notice that he wants to use twice as much Orange Pekoe as Irish? So because it will be twice the quantity of Orange Pekoe than Irish, Orange Pekoe is 2x and Irish is now x. So now we're not even going to have the y, are we? It's gone. We're going to use 2x and x. So now here's my PQP table, my price, quantity, and pure table. All right? So this is the price of the tea. This is the quantity in ounces, and here's how much the ounces of pure are. And we multiply down in this column, and in this column, and in this column to get our equations. We have an equation here, and we have an equation here. See that? It automatically writes our 2 equations right here coming across. So here's the 80 cents per ounce for the Orange Pekoe, the 85 cents per ounce for the Irish, and the 95 cents for the Earl Grey. Here's what the mixture together is going to cost, 83 cents. We learned that from our word problem, and we know it's going to be 100 ounces. But we don't know how many ounces of the other ones. So now, because there's twice as much Orange Pekoe, that becomes a 2x, and the Irish just becomes x. All right? So, to multiply straight down, we've got 0.80 times 2x, and that gives us our first part of the equation. See? This is equation 2, so that gives us the first part of equation 2. Then we've got 85 cents times x for the second part of equation 2. And then we've got 95 cents times z, and that gives us the third part of equation 2. And we know it's going to equal 0.83 times 100, and that's the final part of equation 2. So here's equation 1, here's equation 2. We got equation 2 by multiplying straight down. We got equation 1 just by filling out the table. And now, if you look, because we have our equations, we can start solving them. And you remember the first thing we do? We take the parentheses off of equation 2, like we did before, okay? So, my writing's very tiny because there was a lot of work here, so bear with me. So, here's equation 1, and here's equation 2. So let's take off these parentheses, all right? So to remove the parentheses from here, we just multiply this, okay? So, the 0.83 times 100, because we're multiplying it by 100, the decimal point moves from in front of the 8 to, boom, boom, behind the 3. And now we've got an 83. All right? And we have to remove the parentheses from here, don't we? So 0.80 times 2 is 1.6 with the x. So we've got 1.6x plus 0.85x plus 0.95z equals 83. Now we need to combine the like terms for x, don't we? 1.6x plus 0.85 becomes 2.45. See that here? So now we got 2.45x plus 0.95z equals 83. All right, so now we're right here. See that? We're on stage 2, and this is equation 2 still. So we need to multiply both sides by 100 for number 3 here. to remove these decimal points, and we do. We multiply this side by 100, and we multiply this side of the equal sign by 100. And that moves the decimal point from here to behind the 5. And it moves it from in front of the 9 to behind the 5. And it moves it from, well, it wasn't around the 83, was it? So guess what's going to happen? 83 times 100 becomes 8,300. There was no decimal point, so we just added a couple of zeros. So now we know the decimal point's there, right? Okay, so now equation 2 says this. 245x plus 95z equals 8,300. So, see this 95z right here? He's important. Because what we're going to do, if you observe him, is we're going to multiply equation 1 by negative 95 so that we can eliminate that 95z. So here's equation 1. 2x plus x plus z equals 100. We're going to combine like terms first, and the 2x plus x becomes 3x. So now equation 1 is 3x plus z equals 100. Now we're going to multiply it by a negative 95 on each side of this equal sign. And equation 1 becomes negative 285x minus 95z, because see, it was just a z, but now it's a negative 95z because we multiplied it by that, equals, and the 100 times negative 95 becomes negative 9,500. This is our new equation 1, okay? So keep following with me, all right? Now the very next thing we're going to do is we're going to subtract. This is the 5th step. We're going to subtract equation 1 from equation 2. So here's equation 2, and here's equation 1. We're going to take equation 1 away from equation 2, okay? So, because we multiplied equation 1 by negative 95, that plain old z became a negative 95z. Now, when we put it underneath equation 2, look what happens. We can eliminate it, can't we? So now it's gone. So now we have 245 minus 285. Well, that's bigger, so that's going to put us into the negatives, isn't it? Because 245 wasn't big enough. So now that's negative 40x equals negative 1200. Because 83 wasn't big enough, it put us into the negatives. To get rid of this negative 40, we're going to divide both sides by negative 40 as an inverse operation, because this means multiplication, negative 40 times x. So in order to undo this and get rid of the negative 40, we're going to divide both sides by negative 40 as the inverse operation. And we get rid of it. 40 over negative 40 is 1. And we don't put the 1 in front of the variable. So that means x equals 30. Negative 1200 divided by negative 40 is 30. Now we know what x is. Whew! All right, we're not done yet. So, step number 6. Now that we know x is 30, we plug the value of x, 30, into equation 2. The whole thing, even the part we crossed out. The 245x plus 95z equals 8,300. We plug that 30 as x into that equation. Okay? So, 245 times 30, because it was 245x, and we know x is 30, so now it's 245 times 30, becomes 7,350, 7,350, plus the 95z equals 8,300. See? Because we put the x there. Now, we could subtract 7,350 from each side, okay? And that gets rid of that, right? And now, we've got a 95z that drops down, and 8,300 take away 7,350 is 950. So all we have to do is divide both sides by 95, right? Because 95 over 95 means 1. Same numerator and denominator, so that turned it into a 1, and we don't write a 1 in front of a variable. So that means z equals 10. 950 divided by 95 is 10. So now we know z is 10 and x is 30. Guess what? If 3x plus z equals 100, then the whole thing needs to equal 100. And if y is equal to x, remember? We put x in place of y, and then x became 2x. So that means y is 30, x is 30, and z is 10. So let's see what happens. If we use 2x, that's 2 times 30, he's going to use 60 ounces of orange pico. 30 ounces of Irish, and 10 ounces of Earl Grey. And that's our 100 ounces, and we know how much of each. Was that crazy? Now, if you didn't get this, watch the video again and pause it at certain points and copy down everything I wrote. And use this as a template to solve 3 variable solution or mixture problems, okay? If you write this down and copy it down, you're going to understand it. But you need to copy down every single thing that I wrote so that you'll get it, okay? You can watch this video again. You can watch it as many times as you want, all right? Just remember that we multiplied straight down here to get each of these. The 0.80 times 2x was coming straight down here. The 0.85x came straight down from this. The 0.95z came straight down from that. The 0.83 times 100 came straight down from that. That is equation 1. That is equation 2. I've got them written right here. You can see where I got them. See? And then we started doing all of our work, okay? And we did step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then step 6. All right? And there were actually a couple more steps after that to actually solve it and plug in the numbers, but they're not as hard as the other steps that I described, so I figured you could do those on your own. So, I know this was a very long video, but hey, this was a very long problem. And the only reason that they're hard to do is because there's so many steps to remember. That's all. They're not that hard of steps to do, they're just a lot of steps, okay? It's like climbing a big mountain or a pyramid. It's not hard to climb up a pyramid except for the fact that there's so many steps. It's not hard to go up steps. But when there's thousands of them, yeah, then it's hard, okay? So try to write all this down and use it as a guide or a template on how to solve for X, Y, and Z. And I'll see what I can do about adding up another one, maybe with solutions and percentages, okay? But this is basically the same thing as percentages because of the 0.80. The money is sort of like the decimal that we would use in place of the percentage, right? Okay, keep your chin up. You're almost done with this. You're going to do great, and I'll see you next video. Bye.